It looks like the United States Department of Justice is now calling for more action to go against FTX. We have an article here from watcher.guru. I will include a link down in the description below. I'll share my thoughts and opinions on this at the end of the video. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Everything I'm sharing is my own opinion. It's my own research. I highly encourage you guys to go do your own research. And with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into the news. By the way, if you're seeing all these different ads, that's not me. That's based off the article's website. Obviously, they need to make money. U.S. Department of Justice arm calls for independent probe on FTX bankruptcy. On Thursday, the U.S. Department of Justice's bankruptcy watchdog called for an independent probe into the collapse of the FTX group. It said that a neutral party should investigate the crypto exchange for allegations pertaining to, quote, fraud, dishonesty, incompetence, misconduct, and mismanagement. The U.S. trustee that is a part of the Department of Justice that oversees bankruptcy court has asked FTX's bankruptcy judge to appoint an examiner to look into the company's insolvency proceedings. The examiner would publish a public report on FTX's collapse and veer into allegations of wrongdoing. U.S. trustee Andrew Vara wrote in a court document, an examiner could and should investigate the substantial and serious allegations of fraud, dishonesty, incompetence, misconduct, and mismanagement by FTX. The official document also outlined that the examiner should also probe, quote, the circumstances surrounding the debtor's collapse, the apparent conversion of exchange customers' property, and whether colorable claims and causes of action exist to remedy losses. And then we can see here from over on Twitter, the U.S. Justice Department's bankruptcy watchdog is calling for an independent probe into the collapse of FTX Group. Why an independent probe? The document went on to acknowledge the, quote, valuable preliminary work done by the company's new management to disentangle FTX's problems. Nevertheless, Vara added, the questions at stake here are simply too large and too important to be left to an internal investigation. With Sam Bankman-Fried stepping down from his executive position, FTX hired new CEO John Ray to help the company wade through bankruptcy. The latter has time and again asserted that investigating FTX's collapse and recovering customer assets were among his top priorities. Without questioning Ray's competence or earnestness, Vara chalked out that the independent probe will allow FTX to devote more energy towards stabilizing FTX's operations. Ray recently said in a filing with the District of Delaware Bankruptcy Court that FTX's lapses identified were greater than in any other process he has managed in his 40 years as a bankruptcy specialist. Quote, never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls and such a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here. All right, let's go ahead and share my thoughts on this. So there was actually a Twitter space that occurred yesterday in which Sam Bankman-Fried popped into. He was answering a lot of different questions as far as whether or not those were the most appropriate questions that could have been asked during that time. That's up for debate. I know that there were some people that were saying that it could have been made of better use of their time. However, what was interesting is that the conclusion of it, many people were in agreement that there's kind of this public viewpoint that keeps going on with Sam, where they're trying to not make him look necessarily as the bad guy here, that they're not really calling him out for a ton of these things. They're kind of like being polite to him, and he doesn't really deserve any of that because he's largely responsible. He did mess up tremendously here, and there's billions of dollars of user funds that are related to all of this that are now in jeopardy or potentially gone. And obviously that's going to affect a lot of people. Some people being pushed to the brink mentally, and it's obviously a very disturbing based situation. And a lot of people are looking at it and thinking like, why is it that it appears like certain groups are trying to make it look like Sam's not really in trouble here. He's not the one that caused this stuff, that he's probably not going to have any prosecution against him. These are the kinds of signs just based on the way that the dialogue is going on. So, for example, the U.S. House Committee, they have an upcoming December 13th hearing, and they were politely suggesting like, hey, Sam, if you can make it kind of like, no. I'm in a circumstance right now, or sorry, I'm looking at the circumstance right now from the outside in. Everything possible that can go into this to get this resolved and hopefully get funds back to the users, do it. The Department of Justice, they want to have this independent, counsel coming in, reviewing everything. By all means, go do it. From a political standpoint, we know publicly that Sam Bankman-Fried had donated a tremendous amount to the Democratic Party. However, he has also stated that through the back end, he also had donated the equivalent amount of money to the Republican Party. And he said that he just didn't talk about that publicly because this stuff tends to be negatively taken from the media. So when you're doing, I don't know if you guys know much about politics, but when you're donating to campaigns, you're donating to political figures, there is something that's in place where large donations don't have to be written down on the record books in these specific sorts of instances. So it's very plausible that what Sam Bankman-Fried is saying is true. My question is, with these investigations, if this is something that develops to that point where they're trying to see if there's like internal manipulations from political figures, I think that it's only fair that we get transparency and clarity on whether or not he truly did do those things as well. So again, publicly, we know that yes, he did donate largely to the Democratic Party. Question is Sam Bankman-Fried now telling the truth when he says, well, I donated actually the same amount over to the Republican Party? I think it's also important to note that when you take a look at the regulations, the adoption of cryptocurrency, there are very noteworthy Republican-based figures who are pro-cryptocurrency. And so having those people try and be in line with your pocket, being in their pocket and having them be aligned with what it is that your visions and your goals are as an exchange or just an individual that's working with inside of the cryptocurrency space, it makes sense. So, for example, Ted Cruz is a senator based out of Texas. He's a Republican. He's very heavily pro-Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? So to think that, like, you wouldn't be working with that side, it just logically, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm inclined in this circumstance, this particular one, not everything that Sam says, but in this particular circumstance, I think it's true that he probably did donate the same amount over to the Republican Party, and he's doing it underneath the table, basically, in a legal way, which is what's crazy about all this stuff. We need to make some changes to our laws. So personally, I think that there should be full transparency if you're doing any kind of lobbying or any kind of money contributions to any political party, whether it's Republican, Democratic, Independent, doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. So yes, I agree. I think the Department of Justice is correct here. Set an independent counsel, have them go in, review these things. Let's try and get this handled as soon as possible and have it be totally transparent, public information, what they were able to find in their discoveries, charge those people that are involved, which it looks like Sam is more than likely going to be found guilty on that if they do a proper trial. But we'll have to wait to see. I think that it's important that things go through their due process. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they turn in the right direction. And I would love to know what you guys think of this. Share your opinion down in the comments below. Again, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please go do your own research. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. A double shout out thank you to WeLoveSafeMoon.com, Victor Vegas, SafeMoon Oz for being higher level patrons. Also, thank you to my YouTube members for your support. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, like button. God bless, and we will see you in the next episode.